Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going over every single Switch 1 game that I hope gets a Switch 2 edition game in the lifespan of the Nintendo Switch 2. The Switch 2 editions are very clear that they're not just a year 1 gimmick. They're going to be there the entire lifespan of the Nintendo Switch 2. So today I'm going over all the games that I think are probable and the ones I hope we will get. And just before we begin this video, I'm going to say I'm not counting any games that are getting free updates, because if they're getting free updates, then there's no point of speculation. They're just not getting it. Let's start with a game that's already announced for 2026. That is none other than Riven Heaven Groove. So Riven Heaven Groove is going to be an interesting game, in my opinion, because just the Switch 1 edition seems it's going to add a ton of content in the game. And if they do get a Switch 2 edition, it's going to get a lot of content. And it's clear they wouldn't have announced it yet, because the only Direct since it's been announced is the big Switch 2 Direct, focused on games exclusively coming out in 2025. So there'd be no reason we'd know this unless we get it in a June Direct or a September Direct or any time. So this game really just needs a ton of different, you can change the words. Some people might say mode, some people might say mini games. Like, it changes depending on who you're asking. There just needs to be a lot of content and replayability. If they add some extra content in the Switch 2 edition, that would be great. I don't know if this is the most probable one, but they did it for ZA and Metroid Prime 4, so I have to bring it up if they're going to do it for all the Switch 1 games. Next up is another game announced in that presentation, and the only other game that is a Nintendo-made game slated for the remaining period of the Switch's lifespan, and that is Tomodachi Life Living the Dream. Tomodachi Life and Tomodachi Collection for the DS and 3DS, those games were a really good time for many people, including myself. So I really look forward to the next entry into the Tomodachi Life series. And I really think that it looks like it will be a return to form for the series, because it was already a great game, but imagine it's called Living the Dream and they keep on showing off how you can live your own world. This is going to be a big upgrade, which is why I used that word earlier. So I'm really excited for it. But now we get into games that have already come out. And one game that I think needed to get one is none other than Mario and Luigi Brothership. What on earth do I say about this game? First of all, it needs the performance upgrade. It barely runs at 30 frames. If it barely runs at 30 frames, then maybe it can run at 60 on the Switch 2 edition if it truly does get one. Because I think this game is one of the most important ones to get it, because it needs to get a brand new Switch 2 edition to get the extra content and graphics. But speaking of content, what do I hope will be there? Well, typically for Switch 2 editions, it seems you're getting an extra side mode. So a side mode could either bring back a Bowser's Inside Story reference, like you play as another character that connects to a story, and there's a lot of options. They could do a Bowser story again, they could do a Wario and Waluigi, they could do a Peach and Daisy. I think there's a lot of different ones that they could go with. But I think the most likely one is going to be one with characters we haven't seen yet, and that is Daisy and Peach. Because Daisy has not gotten a game yet, and Peach recently got Princess Peach Showtime, which she deserves a better game. She's one of the big three in the Mario universe. Unless you count Bowser, that may be big four. But here's the thing, it just needs new content, because they can't just charge you for new graphical fidelity for a game that barely runs, or like it's just not going to work. So I'm really hopeful that if they do have a Switch 2 edition, they actually add something. But a game that isn't bad, that can eat up the content, and will be totally worth it, is none other than the Mario Wonder. I was so excited for this game. I got it on launch day originally, and I do not regret that whatsoever. It is totally a return to form for the 2D Mario experience. And I can't wait to see what they would be able to do with a brand new expansion or a brand new DLC exclusively on the Switch 2 with the Switch 2 edition. So I think that they're going to have a new gimmick, which is going to be a new story mode. So I think what the new story mode could be, and this is just speculation, what if they ended up merging the Wonder Flower with the Talking Flowers? And the reason I say this is because one of the Talking Flowers in the games references is that I wish I could change my color, which they do change in the where you get your special like skills. I forget what they're called in the moment, but this would be a perfect way to do it. They could become the Wonder Flowers in this brand new expansion. But now another game that I think needs to get it because New Horizons was a top 3 game. It didn't sell well for no reason. And I truly do think that we're probably not going to get a new mainline Animal Crossing for a couple of years. Since New Leaf, we got New Leaf in 2012, and then we got the new Animal Crossing in 2020. So that was an 8-year gap. So what if we get another 8-year gap? Well, the only reason that could even be acceptable is if we have a Switch 2 edition for New Horizons in the meantime. And that's why I precisely think this is happening. Because they gave graphical enhancements to pretty much every game that was a top 10 best-selling game. If you didn't know, they gave free updates to a lot of games. And the only game that didn't get a sequel or didn't get a DLC or like every game that was a top 10 game got a DLC or a new version. So I just think that this one needs to get a new version as well. Well, time for my final one, and this is none other than Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. This game is a masterpiece of a game, and I really just want more characters. Because if we are getting a reboot, there should be 2 options to play. And getting one option with a bunch of characters, and then one option with more characters, like their precise movement, and they've got new moves, and they're like really precise. That's what the new one's for. But the old one, that could just be a Switch 2 edition with like 5 to 8 more characters, and then people would buy it, and then they get more money on one of the best games they've ever made. Like, it's not that outlandish, so I really hope this happens. Well, thank you everyone for watching today's video. I was really excited to make this. It took some time to make. I decided to put out the other video yesterday first because I think this topic would go better after it. So be sure to watch my video yesterday. It's actually related to this one. Thank you for watching today's video. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you, guys.